Senator Marcel sorry about that promotion, Representative Marcel and Representative Farnham both have amendments. Okay. Hold that for me. Bear with me. So the first amendment is Amendment 68. That is Amendment 60. Give me a second while it's loading. What amendment is 68?
That was the one offered by Representative Farnham.
All right, Representative Farnham, we're going to take up your amendment first. Representative Farnham, on your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I'll offer, do we need to read it in?
Certainly.
Ms. Lowry, please read in the amendment.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Representative Farnham is offering up HCA SB 8 36268. And on page 1, it's going to delete lines 13 through 17 and delete pages 2 through 6. And we'll be inserting a new district configuration for the congressional districts for the state of Louisiana. This amendment is available online and is available in your packets, members, and contains maps and statistics relevant to the plan.
Thank you, Ms. Lowry. Representative Farnham, on your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in the beginning of this process, me and my colleagues from Southwest Louisiana set out to accomplish making Calcasieu whole. In the history of our great parish, we've always had one congressman that represented us. And with the current map as presented from Senator Womack, it split Calcasieu Parish basically in half in population. And with the community of interest in our industrial sector down there, we thought that was not just for our area. We're probably one of the top 2 or 3 economic engines for the state of Louisiana, with our oil and gas industries and our LNG industry that's going on in our region. So we thought it would be great to make an effort to get back to one congressman. We have issues with all sorts of natural disasters in our area, and we have a hard enough time getting the adequate supplies and resources to our region in those situations with one congressman, and I can imagine it might be a little more difficult with 2. So in that effort, we set out to make ourselves whole, and in the process, a lot of folks in other areas wanted to come along and be a part of this to correct little tweaks in their area. So last night, a group of senators and representatives got together. I wasn't able to attend that meeting, so this is the product of that meeting. At the end of the day, we accomplished a few things. We kept the basic intent of what Senator Womack's bill is in place, and with a kind of a counterclockwise shift that would, by the process, has to happen that way to increase some areas in northeast Louisiana to help that district, to make Congressman Johnson come down some. That inherently makes Congressman Higgins have to shift to the east, and so on and so forth. In the process, we increased both the black population and the voting population of both of the minority districts by almost 1% each in most cases. So it helps the workability of the 2 new districts and what they're trying to accomplish, and it accomplished the making more parishes whole. I think we're down to 15 split parishes with this map, and so I think we've accomplished several things in the process. And with that, we can answer questions or ask for your passage.
Representative Farnham, does your amendment meet the judge's order?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so we have 2 majority-minority districts, or 2 black districts that have a majority voting age population over 50%.
I think it accomplished that, but it actually increases the viability of the two minority districts.
Okay, and what about incumbency or the current members protected?
Protects all the current incumbencies. I think it meets all the check boxes.
Okay, thank you. Representative Marcel? Again, give me a second, Representative Marcel, because I'm going to get Representative Farnham added back on. Bear with me.
You ready? Thank you. Representative Farnham,
Yes, ma'am.
you said that some senators and some representatives met last night, but you weren't able to be there. Is that what you said?
That's correct.
So whose map is this?
This is Senator Womack's map.
No. The amendment.
The amendment, I'm the
'Cause
author.
If Senator, I don't mean to cut
It has to have an author from this committee, and I'm the
okay, it
guy.
has to have an author from this committee, so that's why. Who asked you to carry? This is my question.
I started it myself without anybody asking me. Now, I allowed input from other members of this body to better my amendment, because mine was from my region's
Just
perspective,
Calcasieu.
Calcasieu's perspective.
And so let me see. Let me walk down this really quick. In Calcasieu, you said that you wanted to make your parish whole. Did I understand that correctly? So instead of having 2 congressional representatives, you wanted to make sure you were whole, and you just want 1. Is that accurate?
Correct. That's correct.
Okay. But over in East Baton Rouge, if I'm reading it correctly, we now have 3 congressional districts. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
That's accurate. Okay, good. So on the one hand, you want to make yourself whole, and you want to split us 3 ways in East Baton Rouge Parish.
That's the net result.
That's the net result. Okay, got it. So are you aware of the population shift in Louisiana? You know, we had these hearings a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whenever it was. Are you aware? Because I think you were on this committee.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So are you aware of the growth, the largest growth in the state?
Yes.
Where was that?
North Shore.
Where? North Shore?
North Shore.
And where was Baton Rouge in that
It's probably middle of the road.
middle of the road?
Yeah.
Would you say that Baton Rouge had more growth than Calcasieu?
I don't know if that's accurate. I couldn't speak to that.
They did. My point to you is that there was growth in Baton Rouge. They lost population in North Louisiana. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
They did lose population in, I'm just trying to
That's
refresh
correct.
my memory, in North Louisiana. So, but you wanted to make sure that North Louisiana, because it looks like, I'm looking at his map and your map, and it looks like you shifts Letlow back over.
That's
And
correct.
she pick up some more, right?
That's correct.
His map, Womack's map, didn't do that. So you added back Lincoln and Jackson, and you made her whole in Wichita.
Washita whole.
Washita.
Washita whole.
Washita, right?
Correct.
Is that right? Okay.
correct.
I want to make sure I got that straight. So are you aware that this map that you're proposing has less compact overall than Womack's map or the enacted map? Are you aware of that? That has less compactness? I know you didn't have a whole lot of time to study it because it was
Yeah, I
last
don't
night.
know if I agree with that.
You don't know if you agree with it?
No.
Okay, well, it does. In fact, it's the lowest compactness of all of the maps. That's A. The district level in Congressional District 6 is less compact than Womack's map. And the Congressional District 2 is half as compact as Womack's map. Are you aware of that?
So what I do know is that the BVAP increased.
I'm not
the
asking about the
population
BVAP.
increased, and it helps the electability of those minority candidates in those areas.
I guess that's your opinion. But what I'm asking you for right now is facts in terms of the compactness of the districts. So let me go to another one. Are you aware that it splits more municipalities than WOMAX? And almost twice as many as the bill that I brought?
I'm not
Are you aware of
familiar-
that?
I'm not familiar with your bill. We
Okay,
didn't,
was
we didn't have a
HB5
chance to hear that.
I presented it in here.
You
You weren't here?
voluntarily withdrew it.
Pardon me?
You voluntarily withdrew it.
But I presented it. But you had an opportunity to get it on your laptop and see it like we get all bills, right? Because you're on this committee.
Yes.
Okay. So this map, the amendments, if these amendments gets on this bill, it will split more municipalities than WOMAX. The deviation on these amendments that go to this map is 129, which is both higher than WOMAX bill, which is almost twice as much as the enacted map at 65. I think what I'm saying is there were more than one goal to meet when we were told to draw these maps. It was more than one thing that we had to consider: compactness, communities of interest, not splitting municipalities. And it appears that this map or these amendments, if we were to vote on this, does far more harm than good.
So it's my opinion that we addressed all of the issues that we were set out to do. We've accomplished all the goals that we were mandated by the court to do. We have the two minority districts were very, very lightly touched, and mostly white population was pulled out of those districts.
Well, let me just say this, Representative Farnham, with all due respect. If you were just trying to make Calcasieu whole and that was your parish and you were trying to do that, I might have a little bit more respect for this amendment. But since you are trying to make yourself whole and East Baton Rouge Parish split between 3 congressional districts, that would mean that for the public that's watching, because you can't see the map or you may not be able to understand it, that would mean that Clay Higgins would represent the people on Lakeshore Drive in Baton Rouge. That's what that would mean.
So in my area, Clay Higgins represents my house, and if I drive 10 houses down the road, Congressman Johnson represents those people.
I guess
10
'cause you-
houses away from my house.
I imagine because you're on the line. But what I'm saying is that's a far distance from where his district starts to bring him down to Baton Rouge. And I'm just trying to, it's unclear to me what the motivation of offering this amendment is other than political reasons. It certainly doesn't help us in Baton Rouge.
Well, all I can say is my constituents at home expressed a strong desire to remain whole. Now, whether we were in District
So do
3 or
mine.
District 4, I can appreciate that. I really can appreciate that, and that's why we all get a vote here. And so it's this is my attempt to help my citizens in my area.
I get
And in
that.
the process, I included a lot of other people from a lot of other regions were included in the conversation. I can't speak to who all was included that night because I wasn't able to attend that. It was people from New Orleans. I think Senator Womack was in the room when it was discussed, and I feel free to jump in anytime.
Okay, I was in that meeting, and the back to the BVAP and in the districts, District 2 and District 6 went up as far as black voter age population. Senator Gary Carter was in the room with us, looking at this and working on this to try to come for the best outcome. We did
That would
include.
be, I'm sorry, that, you said Senator Carter?
Carter, Gary
And that
Carter.
would be Congressional District 2, right?
He was in the room.
Okay.
He was in the room and looking at these districts with us. This wasn't. This was several senators trying to work to try to accomplish, I guess, a lot of maybe concerns from different ones. But I know Red River Parish was put in.
Well, the only one
with-
that could have been concerned about Congressional District 2 would be Congressman Troy Carter. Is that accurate? Did he have a concern about your map?
I would think that Congressman, Senator Carter would be speaking in that capacity as to watching the VAP, the voting age population. He was watching that. He was working with us to try to best fit everything that people was wanting and concerns from each side that we're asking for, and to still maintain the fact that we got a map to draw, and we had to draw this map.
So let me ask you, Senator. Was somebody from Baton Rouge asking to be split 3 ways in that room? Because I want to know who that was.
I don't know where these people, all the people live.
Don't know
I think Carter lives back toward New Orleans.
Yeah, that's what I
Okay,
said.
all right.
Right. That's what I said. And this is
And that's and I can't say he's been on the phone, but he was in the room and worked with us on this.
Let me say this, and I'll leave it alone at this. I respect you, Senator Womack. That's why when I proposed a cleanup amendment to your bill, I came over to talk to you about exactly what I was going to propose on your bill. I think it's disingenuous that we sit here and we drop maps that changes Baton Rouge because some senators got in a room and decided to change my district. This is where I represent. I don't mean,
I'm sorry.
it's not your amendment,
Yeah,
but I'm just
sorry.
making a statement.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm not voting for any map that has Baton Rouge split 3 ways because that's insane. It's insane. And so for whatever motive that they had, I believe that they threw a monkey wrench in a bill that I think would have gotten out of here without any opposition, which is your bill. So I don't know if you realize
Yeah.
it, but I mean, I don't think what they have done has helped your bill. And if Furnham wanted to protect Calcasieu, that's Calcasieu. It ain't got nothing to do with Baton Rouge. So he should have put an amendment on this bill that protects Calcasieu, not Baton Rouge, not change anything in Baton Rouge. And that's just my honest opinion. So I could not, so I would object to this amendment being added. And I want everybody in Baton Rouge who's listening to please call your senators and the people that represent you and tell them we do not want to be split in 3 ways in Baton Rouge. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for correction, Senator Fields was in the room with us, so that I appreciate Senator Kathy reminded me of that. He was in the room as well.
Thank you, Representative Marcel. Representative Newell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and Representative Farnham, I appreciate your attempt at drawing this map, but what I don't appreciate, and I do understand that this is a compressed session, and let me pause right quick and say thank you to our staff, because our staff is truly overworked and underpaid. So I understand how swiftly they work to try to get bills prepared, amendments prepared, so that we can have them in order to get to committee. But with all of that, we also need to consider this how critical it is for everyone to have this information and these documents in time that those of us who are sitting right here and about to vote on this, and Senator, I'm sorry, I'm looking directly at you, but you right there. But this is no slight against you. This was not enough time to digest everything that is in this amendment. We went at ease at about 10:15, 10:20, whatever time it was in the 10 o'clock hour, but we just got these maps before we sat down. When y'all saw us sit down and pick up these papers, that's why we were shuffling, because we just got these amendments. And I just needed to say this is too sensitive of an issue, too sensitive of a topic to rush through it and to be thrown a set of amendments. There's probably more splits than what we are noticing. Rep. Marcel saw Baton Rouge because that's where she lives. So that's what jumped out at her first. But I'm sure there's some other members that might feel slighted. There might be some other populations or communities of interest that feel that they are not being listened to or heard. I would have appreciated more time to understand this, since I was not given the benefit of being in the room. Rep. Farnham's name is on this map, and he wasn't in the room. You mentioned a lot of senators in the room talking about something that representatives are now sitting here trying to pore over, talk about, discuss, and understand in a shorter period of time. Most of us can't really pay attention to the discussions because we're looking and trying to understand these 15 pages that we've just been given. And I just needed to put that out there, Mr. Pro Tem, that we should need to give each other more consideration in our futures, that we give each other more time to digest things that are this sensitive of an issue and of a topic. And I'm still not satisfied with this map. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Newell. Representative Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I think what the problem is that, again, following up on Candace, Rep. Newell, we just were presented with these amendments in your map, as a matter of fact. I do understand, Rep. Marcel, that Senator Fields was in the room with this, but that's Senator Fields and Senator Carter in the room. We were not privy to that conversation, so we had no idea what we were expecting to see today. And now we are shuffling through pages and pages of a bill as well as an amendment. So I don't think anything was done intentionally, but the frustration comes from us not having this ourselves to actually digest it and meet with our people, our community of interest, and speak about what's being presented. So I think, exactly. So I think that that's the main issue here. We know who was in the, well, we know now who were in the room when this was being discussed, but we weren't, if that makes any sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Boyd. Representative Marcel.
Thank you. Let me start out by saying I'm not personally attacking any senator, particularly Gary Carter, whom I like and have served with. I believe that you said that Senator Carter was in the room, and I believe that you said that he probably was protecting the interests or speaking on behalf of Congressman Carter. So I asked the question, was anybody in there from Baton Rouge? What I'm being told by my senator, or one of my senators, which is Cleo Fields, that he was handed the finished product. He did not work on the product after the product was finished. That's what I was being told. That's A. And B, we do have another senator in Baton Rouge. Her name is Senator Regina Barrow. She is the pro tem. So I'm wondering why she wasn't in the room. We're a metropolitan area, so I want to clear that up. I guess she wasn't invited to the party. I don't know. But I do want to ask our chairman if the Legal Defense Fund can come up and help to clear up some of the questions that we may have about these maps and the performance, because we have the public who's listening and they should know what's going on. I believe that these are the people who could perhaps answer some of the questions that we have. And I certainly have some questions for them myself, since I can't get a clear answer on performance or compactness all of these issues that we're talking about, the deviation, how many splits it is. I have an attorney right here by me, Mr. Lavadane, and because we were given this information a few minutes ago, as legislators, many of us can't decipher through it. So I would ask that LDF, the Legal Defense Fund, would be able to come up to the table to answer some questions as it relates to these amendments, if you don't mind, Mr. Boyer, Chairman Boyer. Thank you.
Is someone here present from the Legal Defense Fund like to come to the table? Ms. Lowry on a clarification.
Thank you.
Hey, members, I'm sorry, in the audience, I want to correct something I said earlier. Senator Womack's bill presently has 16 split parishes, as well as Representative Farnham's amendment at 16 split parishes.
Thank you, Ms. Lowry. Rep. Marcel, and we have, if y'all wouldn't mind, please introduce yourselves, and y'all filled out cards.
We did not, but we can.
Please do. Thank you.
My name is Victoria Wenger. I'm an attorney with the Legal Defense Fund.
Jared Evans, attorney with the Legal Defense Fund.
Thank you all for coming to the table, and thank you for your work on this matter. Can you please, first of all, let me ask you a question, because perhaps you all got this map a lot sooner than us. You all have been working for how many years on getting this done?
We filed our litigation, Robinson now v. Landry. At the time, it was Robinson v. Ardwin. The day that the legislature overrode the governor's veto, I believe it was March 30th, 2022.
But the work started around the first road show in September 2021.
Okay, so can you all please tell me, in your opinion, what if this amendment get on, what does it do to Womack's bill? Does it make it better? Does it make it worse? Is it more compactness? Is it more split parishes? Does it make sense? Help me and help walk us through it, because the public really needs to know what's going on. I know they can't know because we just got hit with it today.
Representative Marcel, we're in a similar posture to you. The map that we advocated for was presented here in the legislature as SB 4, which died in committee, and HB 5, sponsored by you. That exact map has been in public discourse since the roadshow, as my colleague mentioned. At least a similar version. Our attempt was to create a new Black majority district in District 5, uniting North Baton Rouge with the Delta parishes. We have also seen in the public domain other versions of maps like HB 12 in 2022 that run along the Red River and the I-49 corridor. But we, for a variety of different reasons, had really coalesced around another option here. And that's because it has been held up to court scrutiny for years now. It has made its way before the district court, but also before the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. We've had to show that it's possible to reduce parish splits in line with Joint Rule 21, which was passed by this legislature in 2021. So I guess our journey started earlier than we represented. We've been following redistricting since perhaps the census and since you all made the rules.
So I guess my question is, does this amendment make more splits than, because I think it has 16 in it?
So y'all put us on the spot, so let me pull out my notebook and talk a little bit about the other maps we've seen in this process.
Okay. Well, I'm just trying to get a little clarity for myself and other members, and just trying to figure out exactly what putting this amendment, and I know you hadn't had a long time to digest it, but what is your opinion about adding this amendment to Senator Womack's bill?
Sure. So I think I heard recently, and again, we're processing this information as quickly as you all are, that there was 16 parish splits. Am I accurate in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So
what I counted.
The enacted map that is currently in place has 15 parish splits. The remedial map that we proposed in litigation and that has been vetted by the courts has 11 parish splits.
That's what I thought.
Representative Marcel, I think you also have an amendment that, I don't know if it has us beat, but it's certainly closer to that. And again, I know that there's been different opinions shared here about parish splits, but that's coming not only directly from doctrine around redistricting, but also Joint Rule 21. We have been abiding by the rules that this legislature put in place for yourselves. So that is the rubric that we are guided by, that the courts are referring to, that our map drawer is accountable to. So that's why parish splits are emphasized. There's also a logic to it. There's a lot of governing that's done at the parish level here. There's election administration, school boards, other elements of civic life that have been recognized in your politics, in your policy, in Joint Rule 21, and by the federal courts. So that's why that principle is so important. I think there's many other things, and again, I don't even have a copy of the amendment in front of me here, but we have had to comply with principles like deviation, trying to get that as close to zero as possible, certainly trying to keep important places. We've heard really compelling testimony about the importance of keeping military bases whole, or the communities that serve those areas, whether it's, housing or other communities of interest. We have tried to comply with that over the course of the process. Even SB4 and HB5, we have alternative options that we could pursue to keep some of the military districts that have been, or military bases that have been mentioned, whole. We'd be happy to work on that with you all. We would be happy to end this litigation with a map that complies with Section 2 and also can achieve other political ends. We understand for any type of politics that our bill was not successful here. We do, however, know, based off of the amendment that Representative Marcel has presented here, based off of a record from prior bills filed in this process or presented by the civil rights community that follow the Red River and I-49, that there could be ways to clean up this amendment, to otherwise perfect it, that maybe could get us further towards resolution in this litigation, but none that could do that as efficiently and cost effectively for years and years of expensive litigation with folks far above my my bracket to get it over with and to finally just be resolved. There is a path forward there. It is in grasp. We would love, and on behalf of our clients, we would love to see that resolution.
Well, thank you. I just was wondering, Rapides and East Baton Rouge are heavily populated by minorities, right?
That's
Would you
correct.
agree with that?
That's
And I'm
correct.
just wondering, how would the court view that we split it 3 ways, both of them?
I think the court would have a lot of questions about what are the politics guiding this. And I think my question is, why for 3 years or more are we not listening to Black people who came here? We had young people who drove here overnight in the snow in back roads from my colleague's alma mater up north at Grambling University just to have their voices heard in the process. We had people who were here when the whole state was closed down, were here on Martin Luther King Day when the nation is closed down, and they came to advocate for SB4, and they still, after years, have never gotten a floor debate. They've never been able to see this conversation happen or to have their grievances met with any genuine effort to resolve the Section 2 violation or just honor a principle of fairness. So there might be a path forward here. We tried to give a much easier one to get this litigation over with. I cannot speak to whether this is that path forward. I can speak to ways to do this better by redistricting criteria and hopefully give people some fairness and give you all some reprieve from federal court litigation.
Okay, thank you. I'm just wondering if there's a risk that the judge would say that she would go ahead and draw it herself, because instead of reducing it, we increased it. And so the splits, and I'm just curious, and we keep talking about the political motivations, and I heard and I respect Senator Womack, who talked about he wanted to make Scalise. He checked with Scalise, he checked with Letlow. I heard every person's name except Gary Graves, and that's one of my congressmen. I was wondering if y'all had a conversation with him as well, but
Hope you're not asking us that.
pardon me.
Yeah, you weren't asking that to me.
No,
though.
no, 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 no,
Yeah,
no,
okay.
no, no. I was just making a statement because I'm about to be quiet, but I just want to make sure that everybody understand when you start talking about. And I said this the other day when I was at the table. If we could remove all of the people who represent the districts away from it and give it to somebody and allow them to draw it fairly, then we would get the best product because it's not impossible to draw to black congressional districts. But if nobody wants to give up any portion of anything, you're going to have the same problem over and over again. And I do respect that Senator Womack says his district is getting hit as well. But everybody has to give up something to do what is right. And nobody wants to do that. Some people want to make sure that they have, a certain number of a certain population to win. And it's just not right. It is not right. It is far too long that Louisiana has done things wrong, and it's about time that we do something that's right and get us out of the courts. And I want to thank you guys for your work. I don't know if anybody else has any questions for you, but I see this as strictly politics, last minute, let's throw in something and confuse the whole issue, but I will not vote for this bill with that amendment on it. Thank you.
We have Amendment Set 70, I believe. Representative Marcel. Representative Marcel, on your amendment? Or Ms. Lowry, would you mind reading that in?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Marcel brings amendments at HCA SB 8362, number 70. This is available, members in front of you, and also for the members of the public, it's available online.
Representative Marcel, on your amendment.
Thank you. Amendment number 3 adds the Red River Parish to Congressional District 6, better preserving the Red River community of interest and the community of interest formed by Red River, Natchitoches, and DeSoto parishes. It also makes Wichita Parish whole in Congressional District 5. It keeps all the Delta parishes whole and together. It reduces the parish splits to 11. It reduces the deviation to 22. It keeps more of Shreveport together in Congressional District 6. I did that for Representative Phelps. Substantially improves compactness of Congressional District 6, performs as well for black voters as Senate Bill 8 with a lower black voting age population. And that's what it does. And I ask for your favorable passage. It's actually a cleanup bill. Doesn't change Senator Womack's bill a whole lot. It's just a cleanup bill, and it gives us fewer splits. And I'd ask for your favorable passage.
Thank you, Representative Marcel.
Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Go ahead, Senator.
Have the mic. I just want to clarify that Senator Fields did come in with the plan, on the plan, but he was not for splitting up Baton Rouge. I want to clarify that.
I certainly thank you for that because I was going to vote against Senator Fields the next time he ran if you told me he was splitting up Baton Rouge 3 ways. And I like him, but he was going to have to go if he did that.
Well, I just want to
Yes,
put
sir.
that
Thank
on the
you.
record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Bayeux, thank you, members of the committee. My name is Chris Alexander. I'm here simply on behalf of Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group. As each of you know, conservatives in the U.S. House of Representatives now have a 2-vote majority, razor-thin Republican majority. This is a supermajority Republican legislature, and it's that for a reason, because 70% of the citizens of Louisiana are conservative. Actually, in the U.S. House of Representatives at this second, there's a 1-vote majority, Republican majority, because Representative Scalise is on medical leave now. So we're 1 vote away in our country right now in the U.S. Congress from having the Biden-Schumer agenda essentially unleashed on the country. Some people may say it's already been, but there is some protection in the U.S. Congress right now because of that razor-thin majority. By voting for this bill, creating an additional minority district in Louisiana, it's our view that you are giving that majority away, and you're putting the very delicate balance of power in the U.S. Congress in very grave jeopardy on matters of profound consequence to citizens of Louisiana and citizens across the country. Everything is at risk here. Now, the argument that we've heard from a lot of Republican members here is that if you don't pass a new plan creating an additional minority district in Louisiana, then the federal court judge will make that decision. Well, her actual order says that the plaintiffs, when they went into court for a preliminary injunction, never tried on the merits, just a summary proceeding, said that they had carried their burden of showing that the current map violates Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, and that the plaintiffs had a substantial likelihood of making their claim successful, which is that we'll have a second minority district in Louisiana. But there was no trial on the merits. But the judge essentially said, if we have a trial on the merits, I'm going to rule in favor of the plaintiffs, and I'm going to create a second majority minority district in Louisiana. That's exactly what this bill is doing right now. And if our current map goes, if you do nothing and our current map goes back before Judge Dick, she's going to probably end up doing the same thing, but at least we have a chance to fight for the current map in our state. And no matter how she rules, we have the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal and we have the U.S. Supreme Court. And again, everything is at stake, and it seems like we're simply giving it all away right now. We believe that this is worth fighting for. We believe that that balance of power is worth fighting for. And I would remind the members of this panel that I know, some of whom we helped get elected, along with Governor Landrieu, whom we worked very hard for and who we respect and think is going to be a great governor, that the citizens of Louisiana worked very tirelessly to get you elected to come here, not to cave in to political pressure, which is, it appears to hundreds and hundreds of citizens across the state that that's what you're doing. You're caving in to political pressure, and you're giving in without a fight. Speaker Mike Johnson has weighed in on this. We heard some testimony earlier that Congressman Johnson apparently was okay with this proposed legislation. That's not our understanding at all. In fact, Congressman Johnson specifically said that our current map from 2022 needs a full trial on the merits with appellate review all the way to the Supreme Court if necessary, because the issue is so profoundly important to the future of this republic. I want to reiterate before I close, as I said, people all over the state are watching this right now, many of whom voted for you to come here, some of you who were just elected very recently. And if 6 months or a year from now, the United States Congress is controlled by Democrats, it started in this House. It started and ended in this Capitol. And that's what will have made it possible. And the citizens of Louisiana, I can tell you, will have a very, very good memory if that occurs. I would respectfully submit that your responsibility is to represent the interests of the substantial majority of Louisiana citizens and not to cave to political pressure. And we're asking you to defeat this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. And look, just and you got a couple of questions, but just from our standpoint, I sat on the committee when we drew the other maps that we all believe were fair and we believe is representative of the state of Louisiana. The Fifth Circuit sent it back to the federal judge and basically held us hostage that if we don't do it, she's going to do it. And so none of us like the position we're in. But, you know, and a little bit to your point, we were elected to serve, and we feel that we would prefer to have the lines drawn in this committee than to have some Obama-appointed judge drawing the lines for us. And so we don't like it. It's painful to do. And so I feel your sentiment, and I'm not disagreeing with most of what you said. I mean, it goes on in a lot of our minds. So I appreciate your comments. Thank you. And you do have a question, Representative Newell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm troubled by your statements because this is not a process by which one party is losing power, caving in to another party. This is a process by which the other 30% of the people in this state are trying to get the representation that their population and numbers deserve in Congress. This isn't a caving in or power grab or giving away of power or losing of power of the Republican Party. It's an opportunity for this body to represent all of the people that they supposed to represent in their district, listening to them and giving them the opportunity to vote for someone of their choice. Whether that person of their choice is a black Republican or white Democrat. It's an opportunity for black people, as some of my colleagues would prefer to be said, but a minority-majority district to have the opportunity to vote for their candidate of choice. And I'm troubled by the way you said your statement. You're very respectful, but I listened to the words. This is not supposed to be a process that is this contentious and this divisive, but it is a very difficult process. And we have been fighting this for 3 years now. And I've been on this committee since the very start. Went to Utah with the rest of the people from across this country that had the same job that we all have here to learn what we're doing. Traveled this state from north to south, east to west to listen to what all of the people in this state wanted. The white citizens in this state, their issue was keeping their communities together. You know what black people wanted? Just an opportunity to have a voice in a room. And that is what we're trying to do. It's not a power grab. It's not to say that Republicans rule or that if there's another chance where Democrats are ruling, that's a problem. We should not see one party as a problem. We should not see another person that has a different letter behind their name as the enemy. I like him. He's not the enemy because he's a Republican. We just have a different way of looking at things. And that's how we should see it. We both observing the same problem. We just have different ways as how we get to the solution. And we cannot continue to have this rhetoric out in the world like it's a problem to be of another party, or it's a problem for another party to be in leadership. We're not giving away power. The Republicans are not caving in because they're helping African Americans have an opportunity to vote for a candidate of their choice. That is what we're doing here. Yeah. And we're going through this fight because, as I've said many times before, this is the first time that this country has gone through redistricting after the expiration of Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. Section 5 required all states that had a history of racism that any laws that were passed that would affect people's access and rights to voting had to be overseen and approved by the Department of Justice. This is our first time doing this where we no longer have that supervision, and God knows I wish we still had that supervision, because clearly we can't do this on our own. Because clearly somewhere along the lines, the message is getting construed that this is a giving up of power instead of this is an opportunity to let other people enjoy the benefits that another group has had for forever. And I just want to see African Americans across this state have the same privileges you've had all your life. And that is voting in someone that they know or believe will have their best interests at heart, whether it's in this building or whether it's in our United States Capitol. It's not a caving in. Because if it was a caving in, this process would have been over a long time ago. And I just needed to say, I don't have any questions for you, but your statement kind of disturbed me a little bit.
Sure.
Because I don't want you to think that it's a caving in of any party.
Well, I respect you, Representative Newell, and I respect your right to speak, and I would always, Newell, and I would always protect your right to speak. But we do live in a democracy here, and when a majority with a particular ideology is in power and control, policy should reflect that ideology. Our position here is very simple, that Congressman Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, represents a conservative ideology. Many citizens across Louisiana are very proud and happy that he's there. And this legislation threatens the authority that conservatives have in the United States Congress. He has said very clearly that our current map is constitutional and that we should fight for it in federal court in order to reflect the interests of a majority of Louisiana citizens. And democracy and a republic means something. But I would always fight, by the way, for your right to speak, and I value it greatly, as much as I value mine.
Thank you for giving me my right, or letting me know I have a right to speak. I also have a right to vote. And I also have had a right all my life, coming from Orleans Parish, as having an opportunity to vote for a representative of my choosing that I believe represented my interests. And this democracy, we need to make sure that it enables other people across this state to also have a voice and a right to vote for a candidate of choice that could also be their voices in rooms that they're not able to be in. That is what this process is, sir. So I appreciate you reminding me of my right to speak, because I'm going to do it anyway.
Yes, ma'am.
But it also is my right to ensure that others have their right to speak and their right to vote and keep their access to voting intact. And while they have that right and that access, that they also have the ability to vote for a person of their choice. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Newell. We have a handful of representatives that want to exercise their right to speak. Representative Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Alexander, I appreciate your comments. I
Sure.
really do.
And congratulations on your election.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Look, I'm certainly wish that we were in a different position in the House of Representatives with more than just a one-vote majority,
Sure.
and that this wasn't looked at as a we're going to lose the majority or not kind of decision. But unfortunately, that's the position that we find ourselves. And I can assure you this, that we are not here today because we are caving to any kind of political pressure. The fact of the matter is, like it or not, Judge Dick has said either you do your job and draw the map, or I'll draw the map for you, period. We've argued this case before the Fifth Circuit twice. We've asked the Supreme Court to hear it. They've said you need to go and do your job first, which our job is to draw these maps.
Sure.
I don't like this position. I wish we were not in this position. I like the maps that the legislature a few years ago voted on and approved. But here we are. And so as I look at it today, I'm a realist, right? I could say I wish things were different, but today what is presented in front of me is either Judge Dick draw the map or we draw the maps. I feel like this legislative body is going to draw a better map than Judge Dick will, period.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here. That's why we're going to vote on the map that we think is the best. And I would rather put this decision in the hands of elected representatives than in the hands of an unelected judge.
And I very much appreciate that, Representative Carlson, and I would simply argue, consistent with Speaker Johnson's position, that our current map is constitutional and it's worth fighting for when you consider what is so profoundly
I
at
understand,
stake.
but there is no position to fight at this time. It is either Judge Dick draw a map or we create a map. There is
Right.
no continue. The fight
true.
cannot continue on beyond that until we draw a map or we don't draw a map.
But if you don't draw a map, or do draw a map, either way, you end up with a one
If we
majority
don't draw-
minority increase.
If we don't draw a map, we end up with a map that Judge Dick draws, which will be a map with 2 majority black districts. But it is
Exactly
a
what we're
worse
going to
map
have as a
than-
result of this legislation.
But it will not be as good as the senator's map.
Well, the net effect, I would respectfully submit, would be the same.
It certainly is. And look, I think there is a legal basis for it. Look, I'm glad that we are having this conversation. And in all fairness, in all honesty, I think all of these maps look crazy. Because the truth is that the overarching argument that I've heard from nearly everyone over the last 4 days has been race first. I wish it weren't that. This is the first argument today that said I'm basing a map on political reasons, not on race. And I think it's a shame that we are having a conversation where race seems to be, at least based on the conversations, the driving force, when we do not live in a segregated society, or nearly as segregated as it once was 40, 50 years ago. And so the reason why this is so difficult is because we are moving in the right direction. We don't have concentrated populations of certain minorities or populations of white folks in certain areas. It is spread out throughout the state compared to Alabama. Alabama has 17 counties that are minority majority, and they are all contiguous. Louisiana has 7 parishes that are minority majority, and only 3 are contiguous. That's why this process is so difficult. But here we are without any other options to move forward. And so I hear what you're saying. I respectfully disagree with the characterization that it's bending to political pressure. Yeah. You know me, and you know that I wouldn't do that. But I don't see any other path forward. This is the best of 2 bad options, and I'm going to always do my job that's before me.
And I understand that. Is there anything? Is there? Do you think there's anything that would be an option? Would be to allow our Attorney General to argue the constitutionality of our current map in federal court, Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal, and Supreme Court?
Already been done twice in the Fifth Circuit and asked of the Supreme Court, and they've refused to do that. And here we lie today.
There's never even been a trial on the merits, Representative Carlson, on this map, even in district court.
That is the judge's decision, unfortunately.
And if you don't do anything, they'll have one.
And if we don't do anything, we'll have a worse map. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the interchange.
Representative Marcel.
Thank you. Mr. Alexander. I guess it's disheartening for me to sit here in 2024 and hear that we certainly need to keep the power, and if you all do what's right in Louisiana, we're going to lose our thin majority. If we would have done what was right a long time ago, you probably wouldn't be in the majority. If Alabama passes what they need to pass, and we pass what we need to pass, then perhaps we will have a fair and balanced Congress.
And you'll be in the majority.
Well, and what's the problem with that, sir?
Well, there's millions of Americans who have a problem with that.
Well, and guess what? It's millions of people who have not had an opportunity to have a seat at the table. We have a problem with voter suppression. We have a problem with people thinking that we can't make decisions. And let me say this, on the other side of the aisle, on the other side of the chamber in the Senate, I have colleagues that have some of the same beliefs that some of you have, right? And they believe in pro-life. They are African Americans. I believe in pro-choice. So to say that everybody's ideology, because they are black, is one way, is certainly crazy, number one. And number two, I really agree with you with something. And that is send it back to the courts and let Judge Shelley Dick draw the maps.
Wait, you agree with me?
I do agree with that, because then we could remove all of these different people and these moving parts that everybody, these political interests, because we do deserve 2 black congressional seats. Because where I went to school, it was a black school though, Capitol High School. When you divide 6 into a third into 6, you get 2. And so we deserve 2 seats. And that's what we deserve. We're not begging for something that we don't deserve. That's what we deserve. And God forbid, maybe somebody will get elected that feels like you or have the same ideologies as you, but perhaps they won't. People need an opportunity to have their voices heard. And when I send somebody to Congress that feels like you, that represents my district, then you do not represent what I believe.
But what if I represent the majority of the people in your district?
What if what?
Look. The questions come from this way to
sorry.
you,
I'm
so
sorry.
we don't go the other way.
Thank you. I appreciate
All
that.
I'm saying
need
to
to keep
you,
this
Chris,
timeline.
is
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it's disingenuous to sit here and say and look at us in 2024 and say, Black people in Louisiana, you might be a third, you could be 40%, but we do not want you at the table making decisions as it relates to what you want or your constituents want. And that's what I'm hearing. And it's really, really sad.
Representative Marcel, I hear you.
It's about control, it's about power, and it is really fundamentally wrong. And I said this last year, and I was hoping not to get upset, but we meet afterwards, we barbecue, we go across the street, we hang out, we cool, I love you, you love me. We go up to the Bible study and we pray together, but we do not feel like we are equal. And that is wrong.
Thank you, Representative Marcel.
I very
Representative
much
Boyd.
appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sitting here today, thinking about the fact that we are literally fighting for an opportunity. It's not given because people still have to vote. An opportunity to have 2 Black representation of African Americans in D.C. The opportunity, nothing is guaranteed. We're here fighting for the last 3 years just for the opportunity. And with voter apathy, we really don't know where that's going to end up. With closed primaries, we really don't know where that's going to end up. But if we continue along this path, I feel the state as a whole will suffer. The reality of it is that Mike Johnson is the Speaker of the House. They still have 4 Republicans representing Louisiana. We're here trying to stop just 1 additional African American seat. What does that say for us? We have my chairman referring to the judge as an Obama judge. We cannot continue to divide the city, the state, and expect to survive. It won't happen. We have to learn to coexist, appreciate our differences, appreciate the culture differences. There are things that you cannot possibly understand in African American life because you're not one. We cannot continue to throw out and spew divisive words and think that we can survive as a state. It won't happen.
Yeah. Representative Boyd, in what you're saying, it makes me think of what Thomas Jefferson said, who's one of the founders of our country. He said, in matters of taste and culture, swim like a fish. In matters of principle, stand like a rock. And that's what I'm asking this committee to do, is stand like a rock and allow our Attorney General to argue the constitutionality.
So you're looking to further divide the state.
I'm not here to divide anyone.
That's exactly what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Mr. Alexander, that clears the board.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.